Let's make another Joy Elegance beanie. Starting with my Addi Express Circular knitting machine, I'm using the Granny Squares yarn from Red Heart, and this is going to create a really pretty pattern. We're using hues of orange and like a creamy orange color as well as yellow. It reminds me of a dreamsicle. I love the colors. Going straight in with the main color, we're going to make it hyper speed so you can see those colors grow. I love it. I love it. Taking off the hat with my darning needle, making sure that I pick up all of the stitches and no stitch is left behind. All done. Stretching it out just to make sure all the stitches fall into place and line up just the way they need to. We're adding the satin lining, and I'm making sure to mark my quadrant with my chalk marker on the wrong side of the fabric. The reason why I'm making 4 quadrants is just so that I can make sure that I have the satin lining evenly distributed throughout the entire beanie. I don't want to get all the fabric bunched up on one side or the other, in one space or the other. I want to evenly distribute it. So I have the clips on my beanie in the 4 quadrants that I marked as well, measuring it. So I'm adding wrong side beanie to right side satin lining and going in and pinning it in those coordinating spaces that I've already marked just to make sure that it lines up evenly. Pinning in the back, pinning in the front, and then eventually pinning on each side. I like to fold the spaces in between over and then pin. I'm not sewing it pinned this way. I'm just pinning it down to have more control when I have my project on my sewing machine. And it gives me a guide of where I need to further stretch my beanie. So I'm doing this on the front as well as on the back. Doesn't really matter which direction you pin it in, just so that you have control over the fabric. And so the satin lining itself is sewn up on both sides, but the middle is open just so that we can fit it on the arm of the machine. And then we're seaming it with the zigzag stitch, just going all the way around and stretching the beanie as we go. So the beanie is stretched to the length of the satin fabric. Stretch and sew and turn. And we're all finished. So now here's the skirt for the beanie. We're going to pull her on the right side. You can see the zigzag makes a very flexible stitch. So I'm sticking my arm in the inside so that I can pull out the right side of the beanie. Flip the brim. Now we are able to sew up the opening that's in the lining. This is the opening that we used so that we can get the project onto the arm of the machine. Going in a little bit closer, just starting with the very first stitch, going back and forth, making sure that it's not going to come apart. And there's the skirt. I say skirt because it looks like it's a hanging skirt. So we're just going to tuck this lining inside the beanie, and she's all set. So cute and cozy. So here's the coordinating infinity scarf. I didn't show you the beginning. Now we're taking it off. We have waste yarn on both ends, on the beginning as well as the end. And now it's all finished. So we added that same color, that granny square color with the stripes, the orange and the cream and the yellow. But we also added another coordinating color. You see all of the different colors at the end. This matches so cute, very retro stripes here. So now we're going to seam the ends together. Just showing you a close-up of how the waste yarn is so beneficial. It allows us to see exactly which stitches to seam together because the waste yarn is a very contrasting color to the main color. So we know exactly which stitches to pick up. If you have any questions on my process, please put them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer. You know you're at the other end when your ends are directly across from each other. Now, one of my favorite parts is removing the waste yarn because I can just rip and rip and rip, and there's no issues at the end after ripping out the yarn. It's so cool. Tying the last two ends together before weaving them into the double-walled infinity scarf. All finished. Look how cute. They coordinate together very nicely. Now available.